So the big tax question is this: how do wealthy people keep their money working for them when selling their business, real estate, or other highly appreciated assets without paying hundreds of thousands to millions of dollars in tax? What if we, as business and real estate owners who have poured blood, sweat, and tears to growing our wealth, and who didn't hire expensive tax attorneys and CPAs to map out an exit strategy, knew their secrets? Instead of recreating the wheel, why can't we just model the way they deferred 30 to 50% in tax, paid off debt, funded their next business dream, and most importantly, leave a financial legacy to give to the causes we believe in most? What if their secrets weren't complicated at all, and you just need a guide who is a few steps ahead of you? That is the question, and this podcast will give you the answers. My name is Brett Swarts, and welcome to Capital Gains Tax Solutions. Brett Swarts here, Capital Gains Tax Solutions. So excited about this next guest. He is my mentor. He is my business partner. He is my friend. He manages personally my family's wealth as our financial advisor. He is the first reason for me to start down this journey of capital gains tax deferral. In fact, I was sitting in an office in 2009 after the crash at Marcus and Millichap, and our manager brought him in. His name is Robert Binkele, and he spoke about the Deferred Sales Trust. He's the co-founder of the Deferred Sales Trust. He's going to share with us his journey from starting this company, surviving the scrutiny from the IRS, blazing new trails, bringing in business partners, working through his journey of now it's over 20 plus years. And we're seeing such tremendous growth with the Deferred Sales Trust. So if you ever wanted to get an inside peek into exactly where this started, I know you've heard maybe my journey and my story, but my journey actually backs up to Robert Binkele, and he is the co-founder of the Deferred Sales Trust. He's the true star, and I like to call him like the brain surgeon. Him and the tax law firm are like the brain surgeons, and I'm just the nurse. So you get a chance to hear from the brain surgeon himself, especially as it pertains to financial advising, the Deferred Sales Trust, the legality, investing. So enjoy this show and be sure to share it with somebody who is facing any capital gains tax deferral challenges on the sale of their primary home, business, or commercial real estate. Thanks so much. Enjoy the show. Welcome to another episode of the Capital Gains Tax Solutions podcast, where we believe having a tax deferral plan is the best way for you to create and preserve your wealth using things such as the 1031 exchange, the Deferred Sales Trust, maybe a Delaware statutory trust. Our next guest has experience with all of these and is, in fact, what I like to call the godfather of capital gains tax deferral. He's my personal mentor, personal friend, managed my money for me. But beyond all of that, he is the co-founder of the Deferred Sales Trust, as well an independent financial advisor for over 20 years, as well as on Forbes Council list. And he's seen and done just about every deal you can think of when it comes to capital gains tax deferral. He also happened to play for the 49ers, if you remember a gentleman named Jerry Rice, and his rookie season was the same rookie season that our guest played with him. And so he's just going to have a wealth of knowledge, information, and it's going to give you an inside peek right now into how all of this Deferred Sales Trust story got started. And so I'm so excited to welcome our next guest. Hey, Robert, welcome to the call.
Thanks, Brad. Thanks for having me. This is great.
Excellent. Yep, and this is Robert Binkele, by the way. So Robert Binkele, Binkele. You can find him at myept.com. You can also find him at he's with the DST Wealth Management as well. So, Robert, would you give our listeners a little bit about your story and also share maybe your current focus?
Sure. Well, I started in the industry as a stockbroker, so learning to manage money, and I always wanted to focus on not just being a typical stockbroker where you go out and call everybody every day and just try to get assets under management. I was always looking for a competitive edge, a direction that I could really help people in masses. And so, learning the business over the years, I learned that there has to be a better way. And then I learned that, wealth transfer is coming, and there'll be a lot of people that would like to sell one day, and that someday is now. And so we over 21 years ago started this company called the Estate Planning Team. I founded it. I'm the sole stockholder of it. and decided that I was going to enter the arena of capital gains tax deferral. So I met a tax lawyer that is just incredible and very smart, and he had some great insight to a lot of the capital gains market. And so he introduced me to the DST, and we worked together to form it to be what it is today. And so it's been an incredible opportunity for us in the financial service arena, with partnering with professionals such as stockbrokers and real estate professionals and business brokers and insurance agents and trustees and other law firms and CPAs. I mean, they're all ultimately excited about what we brought to them to help their clients, and so this has been a service that we've provided for a long time.
That's great. Thanks so much for sharing that. So before all of your success with the Deferred Sales Trust and being a wealth advisor for over 20 years, and before we get into more of the nuts and bolts of the structure, I'm curious, and I'm sure our listeners are too, Robert, who was Bob growing up? Who was Robert growing up? What kind of gifts were you given? In particular, I think we're all given certain superpowers or certain gifts. I think they're God-given gifts. We're all given something. Maybe you can connect us with what gift were you given, as a child or growing up, and how does that help, or how does that relate to how you help people today?
Well, I think I have to give my mom a lot of credit, because she dropped me on the football field and said, you need to play football. And I said, really? I was just probably watching too much TV. And she said, you got to get out and play football. So my mom dropped me, and I started playing football, and I started learning team sports, and I was great at it. I was like one of the biggest kids at a young age, and did so well that I played both ways. And so, that was quite an honor to not only play both ways, but it was also an honor to play both ways all the way up to high school and be moved up. So, but again, sports taught me a lot of good things about teamwork, being on time, discipline, knowing how to win and lose. And I took that all the way up to a professional level, which never expected to even go to college on a scholarship, but ended up getting a scholarship and playing for the University of Utah. And then I never even thought I would even have a shot at the NFL. And there I was in the NFL at the number one team in the NFL at the time. We just won the Super Bowl. I came in the year we won the Super Bowl against Miami. So that was my first year when Jerry Rice first started. So it was quite of an experience. So, I was very blessed because I worked really hard. I had very disciplined, goals, and I just wanted to be successful, and just kept my nose to the grinding stone. And I think that's kind of what I learned in anything that I did. I had to just make everything the best I could do it. And, you have to know when it's not working, and you have to know to change and move. So, we did that in business as well. So we've always focused on, number one, you got to help people. If you do a good thing for people, it will always come back to you in a good way. So that's really been my focus in life. So again, I focused on athletics, and that's been the majority of my life. And then getting into this business was just a really good directional change for me coming out of the NFL.
Thanks for sharing that. And I played football growing up too, Bob, and I know you played the center position, and the center is sort of, really the quarterback of the offensive line, but essentially the center and the quarterback, they're running the whole offense. And with that, I can't help but think of some of the gifts that and strengths that I've seen in you, and with building this massive organization with thousands of business professionals, as well as training and mentoring multiple financial advisors growing up, training and mentoring me, and bringing everyone together to all go towards this common goal of accomplishing what is best for the client. And that I've seen over the 10 years of knowing you now. And so maybe connect that too. How does the sports part of what you just talked about, and then particular being this, a center on the offensive line, correlated to how you help bring everything together and keep the team moving forward?
Well, I think I learned a lot about, when you're a center, you got to start the play. You got to be the first person on the line, and you got to make sure that you get the ball to the quarterback. So you're the main person that has to know the play, and you obviously have to know the count. I think I learned that, and again, you have to be smart, and so I focused in my business the same way. I wanted to be a center of influence of, and I couldn't be afraid. I had to know that what I was doing takes courage. I had to learn that what our tax structure does and doesn't work. And there's going to be a lot of people that were doubters and said it doesn't work or it's not legal. And then we proved them all wrong. I mean, we've been through the IRS. We've never had an issue, never, we're not, 20 something years into this and not having the IRS look at us. We've been looked at. So, something that I did it was a very big challenge. And so again, it took the fact that I stood up and went through a lot of adversity. But a lot of the advisors that I met, I had to pave the ways. Like I had to be the blocker to make the hole open for everybody to kind of go through. So I did that. And as I did that, it became such a big organization that so many advisors said, wow, he blasted a hole into something that's a whole new market that nobody's ever discovered or didn't even want to try to go after. And I don't think anybody's ever really kind of gone to the direction that we've gone. And that's why, and it's a direction that a lot of people don't know how to deal with. And it's very delicate because it's tax law, and it's important that, advisors don't want to practice tax law. And we used attorneys to do that. But what we did was we took I would say using, all the tools that I could use available to me, I brought all that next to me when I was making that whole, and it all worked together. So it's about that teamwork. It's putting everybody together to create a plan that will work in the best interest of the American taxpayer. So we did that, and everybody became believers and said, what you're doing, Bob, really makes sense to the American people. And right now we're talking because, we've had this it's February 27th. And for most of you, if you check the date from this recording, you'll know that we've had some very big corrections in the stock market. We've also had, a lot of concerns on this coronavirus and lots of other things, but mainly that's what's causing lots of volatility. We would all agree that having liquidity and diversification in these kind of markets are very important. And if you're in an asset that's completely illiquid, why would you want to be in an illiquid asset? You want to have liquidity, especially in times when markets change and for the worst. And so, so that's what we brought, is the ability to give people tax deferral, liquidity, potentially more money to operate with. And our goals are really something that we try to line up what's in the best interest of people. It just took a long time to really gain a bunch of awareness, and advisors are very, let's be very cautious, and I'm not sure about this. And over time, they continue to see us doing this, and they became believers. And now it's just amazing what's gone on here. So it's so nice to be able to be rewarded by other professionals patting you on the back to saying, hey, look, you really did something here, which is really great for the American people. And people themselves that are faced with, I can't get out of my business, and I don't want to pay all this tax because interest rate environment is so low that I need every dollar I could possibly get to live on. And now I've got to pay so much money to the government that I can't afford to sell this, but I got to still continue to work. It's not exactly what I want to do. So bringing that solution to people is very, very rewarding for me, which is what I'm all about.
Absolutely. And I can't help but think about the center who's starting at a play. He's the most, in a sense, he's the most vulnerable, right? It's exactly where the ball's at. He's having to focus on getting the person behind him going, right? And he's basically the first point of contact who's leading this this charge forward, right? And also you're setting up the advance for not only the quarterback but also the running back, or time for the receivers to do things. All of that coming together, and you're the first point to get it going, right? And you're having to face that down, and that's exactly what you've been able to do over this last 21 plus years, is to create new markets or new opportunities or new ways to look at tax deferral. And despite how hard that is, right? How hard it is to create something that stands the scrutiny from the IRS. And for the listeners who are listening, thousands of closes now, over 24 total years with the Deferred Sales Trust, including 14 no-change IRS audits, which, Bob, I'm curious, give us a story of getting really comfortable, and maybe share, especially those first few audits that happened, and or maybe, share the most recent audit in regards to the formal audit that took place in Southern California.
Well, audits are really a good test of what we're doing, because the IRS clearly wants to make sure that what's being sent out to the general public is fair and balanced and actually legal. And so, you never really know how legal it is until you get tested. And more importantly, I think on almost every test that we've ever had was the fact of lack of knowledge by the IRS. But what we're doing is installments, and installments have been around for a long time. And I think the benefits of the installment really is a benefit to the government, because, if a taxpayer, carries paper with one individual asset on a traditional installment, it's risky, because then you're kind of subject yourself to one asset that could fail, and then your whole life is in the hands of somebody that borrowed your money. That is not what I call a good outcome. And it's not a good outcome from the IRS, because then they never get their tax dollars, because whatever they sold that they created a gain on, ultimately the IRS never gets paid their money, and that becomes troublesome to the United States government and creates all sorts of problems. The other thing is that a lot of people won't sell real estate or sell a business because they don't want to pay taxes. So that is another problem to the American government, because they never ever generate any tax revenue over the years, because, when you die, you get an unlimited step up. But most people don't want to own their real estate till they die. Sometimes they do, but most of the time they want to sell it, take a profit. But then what influences them is the tax implications. And so the government never really gets the money, usually, or they refinance, and then sometimes that refinance gets to a point where we go into a recession and they can't make their payment, and then next thing you know, they get defaulted, and then they end up owing the taxes anyway. So what we bring to the table is a solution that gives them liquidity, no debt, diversification, and gives the government the ability for them to get their tax dollars. And it's a win-win proposition on the DST and what we bring to the table. So I think it's resonating really well, not only with the government, because I think they see us as not a potential threat. I think they see us as a potential helper to help transact. Now, you have to think about real estate professionals, business brokers, and different people that benefit because of this trust. When we create this trust, is it just about us? The answer is no. It's that business agent that would like, business broker agent that would like to sell and collect his or her commission, because they've worked long and hard to find a buyer, finally found one, but then after the client realized that they have to pay so much in tax, they can't afford to sell it, nor can they raise the price to cover that tax. So we come in to save the day so that agent can get their sale and their commission. The seller, taxpayer, the ultimate seller of the business, gets the benefit of a deferred sales trust, which is liquidity, diversification, and tax deferral. The IRS benefits because now they're in line to start getting interest income on the payment or principal. They're getting their capital gains pro rata. I mean, what a benefit for everybody. I mean, everybody's winning in this scenario. And the main thing is that the clients really like the fact that they can go forward with it. So professionals that are out there every day are looking for something as a game changer to help their client, that can put them in position so that they can actually get more business. And again, we have to do this, because if we don't find ways to get business moving, then we kind of move into what we call stagflation. And you're getting both the buyers and sellers not coming together, and it's really just sitting there and nothing's happening, and that doesn't turn the world and doesn't pay taxes, and it leads to more problems. So again, I think we're serving a good purpose to people. I think we bring a lot of value to people. Certainly when they get older, it's even better because, I think they can see that this is a much better approach. And every financial company that we deal with, from the large wirehouses to the independent brokerage firms, see this as a very valuable solution. So again, tax-wise, we're very comfortable with what we're doing, and we know that the IRS has looked at us and flat out have told us that it's legal. And so, more importantly, we feel very confident in what we can do for people.
Excellent. Yeah. And that's just, that's so important, right? Because whatever tax deferral structure you're looking at, you want to make sure that A, the IRS has looked at it, and B, that whoever the proponents are or attorneys that have used it have actually had their own clients get the audits, right? And the IRS knows about it, and there's a long track record. You don't want to be trying stuff that's new, that hasn't been tested, that hasn't gone through the IRS scrutiny. And also you've had FINRA had scrutiny from FINRA. You've had national law firms look at the structure, right? Big financial advising firms, their legal teams before they roll it out to their financial advisors. So it's been a lot of eyes and ears on the Deferred Sales Trust over all of these years. And one of the most compelling things for me, I know, to have confidence in the structure is there were all no change IRS audits, and including 2 formal audits that were reviewed beyond just any particular deal. Maybe you can tell us about the most recent one that happened just about a year ago, Bob, down in Southern California. Can you walk us through kind of that story? I always think that's pretty, listeners would love to hear that.
Well, I mean, again, the IRS is always watching the internet to see what goes on the internet. And Deferred Sales Trust pops up a lot because a lot of advisors are out there educating clients with it, and podcasts and trustees are out talking about it. So the IRS, in this case, our Southern California IRS, did not know what the DST was and decided to, call me in and our tax team in to kind of explain it and go through it. The good part is, having a 2008 audit with the IRS and, going through that was really a powerful, helper for the 2019 audit, because again, they didn't know that we were audited. It's the right hand didn't know what the left hand was doing, or didn't have any information, but we brought it to their attention. But prior to going into that meeting with the IRS, we gave them everything that we could to educate them prior to the meeting, because we wanted to make it a informative meeting, but also give them plenty of time to look at everything, and also give them our 2008 audit report as well. So the good part is all of that concluded before we even got into the room, because we had a very tough time getting into the building, that we had to go through a high level of security to get into the federal building. And that's just because there's a lot of bomb threats to that building. And so it wasn't exactly something I was really comfortable going into a building that was under a lot of bomb threats, but again, I had to do it, and I did. But what was interesting, we got on the elevator, or it was actually directed through all of the security to get in, and we got on the elevator with a gentleman that I had no idea who he was, but he was the head attorney for the IRS, and he took us up the elevator. And as he was going up the elevator, very nice man, he basically commented on our structure, that he had reviewed it and he knew it was legal. And so that kind of started our whole meeting off, which kind of just set the tone of that he already reviewed it, looked at everything, and said it was a little complicated, but he was good with it, which was really unbelievable starting out the meeting. But, it worked exactly what we thought it would work, because it's important. They need to know exactly what we do, and we don't deviate. We do it right. Now, I do want to kind of segue to other companies like the Monetized Sale. There are companies out there like the Monetized, we call them. Monetized, we turned them down right from the very beginning. They saw my company and they said, Bob, you have so many advisors. Would you represent the structure? And I said, well, look, I want to be open-minded. Let me have our tax team dig into your structure. And boy, they found holes every which way. And they said, just absolutely not. It's a manufactured structure. wasn't any business purpose in it, and we had a really tough time, but we turned them down. So again, we started seeing a lot of agents, people out there, they're trying to carbon copy what we did, but not very well. And agents would always call me and say, hey, I think I'm going to do the monetized deal. And I said, let me tell you why you shouldn't. And sure enough, Brett, that there was a lot of litigation in the tax courts to go after the Crow structure, monetized sale. And sure enough, that wasn't a very good plan. So we have had some very large cases that we're going to go the direction of the monetized sale, and then after sending them the tax court cases that that are going against them now. And then also what was interesting is we had an advisor for a big wirehouse, I can't say, but a very, very large company that everybody here in our audience would know, very well known New York Stock Exchange brokerage firm, was going down the road of a monetize, and we said, look, why don't you look at all these tax rulings and citings of all the cases that are going against it, and you might want to make a decision. Well, they ended up calling Mr. Crow, Stan Crow, from the monetize, and Mr. Crow basically got on the phone and said, well, we can see if we can get you an opinion from our tax lawyer in New York. And so they went on to call the tax lawyer in New York to find out that the tax lawyer would not offer an opinion, said it wasn't good, and then at the very end of the call told the advisor for the New York Stock Exchange brokerage firm that he should not do this, and that we are under audit and we will most likely not succeed in the audit, which was just about what we've expected. And so that's the goal here, is to do things that are right, do things that have solid ground. You're on solid footing. And again, there's no tax team that stands behind the trust at monetized. They just don't. They just, you're on your own. Good luck. And then if you do get audited, you're on your own. Our tax team stands behind the trust. They actually will indemnify you for their work in audit defense. I mean, so if there's ever an audit, they're there to be there at no charge. That's their indemnification, that they're handling it at no charge, protecting you at no charge, and state or federal, and again, with your permission, of course. That's what they do. And that's a very important factor, that you have a law firm that's doing that, to make sure that if there's ever questions that, you could always get audited, highly unlikely, but if you do get audited, they're there. But again, you get randomly selected, and something might not be done on your tax return. And again, that pops up an audit. And so again, you want to have a team there to handle that. And that's really why so many people have selected us over the other companies that are out there.
That's great, Bob. I appreciate you sharing that. And that's just such good context for our listeners to really make sure you're asking the tough questions and the right questions for whoever's going to be helping you with this huge decision, and oftentimes the largest expense you're facing when selling your business, primary home, investment real estate. But Bob, this structure also works for some other sales, right? So what are some more of the more maybe exotic or ones that maybe our listeners aren't thinking about, as far as what the Deferred Sales Trust can actually work for when they go to sell?
Well, we've worked with dental practices, veterinarian practices. We have optometrics companies that are out there that are selling. We're doing that. We've sold, very highly appreciated buildings. We're working with KPMG with a part of their division in Israel, which has lots of real estate in the United States. So we're doing that. We're working with a lot of different tax law firms that are across the country with clients. So we've sold exotic cars. We've done Bitcoin. We've done privately held stock, LLCs, partnership interests, C corps, S corps, you name it. So again, I think we love to have people call us to kind of explore the opportunity of what we can do. We usually can find good solutions for everybody. I'm also doing opportunity zones, but our opportunity zone is very unique. So most opportunity zones don't start cash flow until 5, 6, 7 years, and our opportunity zone starts in 13th month. So pretty amazing, some of the stuff that we want to be cutting edge on everything we do. We don't want to just be plain Jane. We want to be cutting edge on everything we do, from the management of the money, cutting edge. Again, these days have been pretty scary for a lot of people. So we have investments that we really like about, because we hedge all of our money, most of all our money that is invested, we try to hedge against bad markets, and we do that with very unique put options. So just stuff that gets done out there, and our goals are to try to do our best to minimize losses and maximize gains. I call it account optimization. So we try to do all the things that we can do to protect money, and then we use very large money managers to do that to protect these investment notes and stuff. So again, my goal is to make this total turnkey, try to find everybody's problem and see if we can solve it. We do a lot of stuff, asset protection. We have asset protection lawyers that do stuff for Californians. We do a lot of different planning strategies for life insurance planning. So many different things that we try to do to help the clients gain success. So that's been my focus as a planner. Investing money is one thing, but also money saved is money earned. So you want to look for ways that you can save money because, again, a lot of people send you down the road of paying a lot of tax, and then you got to go out and invest that money to get it back. And so, it's nice to have more money to work with, and you can invest more conservatively. That's what I tell people. Hey, look, if you have more money to work with, you could be more conservative with your money because you didn't have to pay all that money to the government up front. So just different things that we try to do to approach it differently. But again, we are a wide selection of tax deferral on all sorts of different things, and we can work with removing assets out of your taxable state. So we have some very high profile clients that you would know that are on TV, and on some very, very high end clients that that you would know, and very Fortune 500 CEOs and different people that are clients of ours, or trust fund babies that have a lot of wealth. So we do have a lot of that, but again, we also don't want people that don't have a lot of wealth to be afraid of this. I mean, if you owed $100,000 or more in taxes, then you would be. We call it kind of our 100,000 minimum club. If you owe less than 100, it's not that we're not going to talk to you and that we're not going to try to advise you, because we had one lady come in with a $30,000 tax, and in reality, she had many, many properties besides that, so we took her on. But if somebody had just 100,000, that makes sense for us to really consider them a prospect in this capacity to see how we can help them. But so many people come in with $1 million gain, $8 million gain, that they owe tax on. It's a life-changing situation for people. So we encourage everybody that is watching this podcast to get a hold of us so that they can learn about this and see if this makes sense for their situation.
And so, Bob, to that point, a lot of our listeners are commercial real estate and owners and operators and syndicators and developers and investors, and they have the idea that they want to maintain this control, right, and maintain all of their funds, and they may like the stock market, but they really love real estate, or they may not like the stock market at all. They just want to stay in real estate. It's kind of where they've made their wealth. So walk us through, for that type of client, what does that look like as far as maybe being able to partner with the trust to buy real estate, and also have some in the stock market? Walk us through kind of how that would work, and maybe the real benefit too, as far as the timing aspect versus the 1031 exchange.
Well, I've been a big advocate of not doing 1031s. I mean, there was a time that 1031 makes sense. However, I think more and more people are kind of shying away from 1031 because I don't know about you, Brett, but I think our parents taught us to buy low, sell high, and buy low again, right? And in this environment, we're finding that a lot of clients are smart, and the real estate agents are smart, and they should know that by getting their client out right now, if I was your advisor 3 days ago, I should have got you out 4 days ago or sooner. If I hadn't, you'd be down 10%, heading maybe for a larger correction than we're having right now. But but nobody has that crystal ball. But what you do with real estate, you do have this crystal ball that that prices are overly inflated, cap rates are low, and money is certainly cheap. It's at an all-time low with a 10-year Treasury breaking below 1.30%. So I would say that, could we go to negative interest rates? Sure. Could we go inverted? Yes. I mean, if we have to go into a recession, I think we do get there. And again, what I would say is, real estate is great when you're young and if you have plenty of time, and same with the stock market. But, there's a time to get out. There's a time to get on the sidelines with any investment. Just look at Warren Buffett. He's $120 billion in cash because he can't find any suitable investments for Berkshire Hathaway. So we think that this is a good time to get money on the table, get liquid, get diversified, and protect your money. And again, not a lot of people want to pay the taxes to do that, so they'll either keep the real estate, and the real estate agent loses because they, obviously work very hard, and I know how hard they work, and how hard that is as a profession, and it's very competitive. But, again, having a competitive advantage over every other real estate agent to know that you could get your client out at the high that you believe truly it's the best cap rate to get out, put your client into liquid cash and diversify or in very safe investments is what we do. And our goals are to protect clients based on their risks. And more importantly, our goal is to give advisors the opportunity to manage money, more money, a whole new change in what they've ever looked at before. Because most advisors are going after 401k money and CD money, and this is the mother lode of all monies. It's their wealth, their businesses that are being sold, or real estate that are being sold. It's where the mother lode of money is. And again, it's the core holdings of people that it's everything. So we want to manage that money in a very safe manner, and that's why we use big companies, third-party money managers that have been hand-picked to manage this money. So, I think the big focus here for us is to provide a great service of being able to get people out, and then back to the original thing is, if they want to get back into real estate, can they do it later? The answer is yes. I mean, real estate is a good asset class. Don't get me wrong. I'm more of a debt guy than anything because I like debt. Meaning I'd like to loan money on real estate, but I don't want to loan the full value of the real estate. I'd like to loan maybe 50 or 60% on it, so that there's a plenty of cushion that if there's a 40 or 50% drop in the market, that I'm still covered and I'm getting good rates of return on my money. And if there is a default, I would get real estate at a 40 to 50% discount from where today. So that all gets blended into this note. That all gets blended into this allocation as a way to invest money. But a lot of times people still see real estate deals. There's opportunistic situations. We have clients that are incredibly smart in real estate, and no matter what kind of market it is, they make money. So it's just, you got the Midas touch. It's kind of like they got x-ray vision on knowing what to buy and how to put it all together to make it manufacture a perfect sale. So most people don't have that skill set to that degree. I mean, they're very good at what they do, but they just don't have it to that degree. So what I would say is, if you want to stay on the sidelines until you can see a directional change in real estate where cap rates move up, the DST can be your best friend. And the trust wants to make money. So just know that our goals, or your goals, is to make money, because that's what we're a profit center. We're trying to make this opportunity for the trust and an opportunity for you guys to get liquidity and diversification. So the trust can go back into real estate as another asset class to buy real estate. And again, real estate professionals like the idea of the trust being able to buy real estate or work with the note holder to buy real estate. And there's some neat things that we show everybody how that can happen, and very good tax incentives to do that as well. So you get a brand new depreciation schedule when you buy a new piece of real estate. Unfortunately, with a 1031 exchange, you don't have that new exchange. You have to go buy something that has more, you have to go increase the debt and increase the purchase to get any more depreciation, unlike what we do with the DST. So some neat things that you can get: brand new depreciation, tax efficient income, a lot of neat things that can be done by purchasing later and have a timeline. I mean, with 1031, you only have 45 days to ID a property and 180 days total to close it. I mean, why don't we just take that off the table? There's just no more 45-day rule. Well, I can tell you that companies like IPX, and they don't like that. They don't like that at all. They don't like what we're doing. And the reason why is because we're taking market share. And I'm sorry, IPX, you're the biggest giant out there in the world, but your clients are not better served by going out and buying an overpriced valued real estate. And you're sending them down the road. And just take a look what happened in 2006 all the way up to 2007, and then 2008 came. And is your client better by doing that? No, they not only lost their equity, but they also had tax relief that they had to pay tax on, go through litigation and problems, all because of that 1031 exchange. So my point is getting out, getting liquid, getting diversified, and getting out of debt. Debt is your friend in an up market. It is your worst enemy in a down market. You lose twice as fast. So my point is, stay out of debt and protect yourself and do smart things that are going to make meaningful decisions for your family. That's what we want to bring to the table. Is, I mean, we're not pushy. We're just open-minded. We want to give you all the options that that you could possibly think about. And we want to talk to your tax professional. We want to talk to your financial professional. We don't alienate your financial professional at all. That person is so important to you. Well, that person is important to us to make sure that our trustees and our team knows you and knows what your risks are, and making sure that what we're putting together is suitable and right for your note and your security of getting paid back. So all these things come into play, but real estate, as I said, long-winded answer, but I wanted everybody to know that we truly believe that there's a time and a place to get out of real estate. And, if this is the time to do it, you can get on the sidelines and sit and wait and not have to pay your taxes. You could live in the installment world, and then ultimately, there's times to get back into real estate. So we want to make that happen as well. So.
I think that was so well said, Bob, and so many good points there. Question on just the performance, because someone might say, well, if I left real estate in 06, 07 and went to the DST and then went into the stock market took a big hit too. So for those who don't know maybe about puts and options and ways to protect and hedge against the market, could you kind of just give a brief overview of how that works and how there's ways to actually be very safe and very conservative in the allocations and not have to take, a bunch of risk just because you're in the stock market?
Yeah, I mean, your risk can always be quantified. I mean, again, the goal is to put money into safe investments that, have protections built into them. And puts and calls are different ways that portfolio managers protect investments. What we like to show our clients is really just money management of historical, with the understanding that past performance is no guarantee of future results. But I can tell you that, they're very consistent. And the companies that we use are incredible. And like, what we want to do is, meet every client and certainly meet their financial advisor and show not only the client, but their financial advisors. See, a lot of the financial advisors learn about what we do, that's different than what they're normally doing. And it becomes a very valuable proposition because they go, wow, this is incredible. I never knew this existed or never seen this. And I'd like to be part of you. How do I get involved with you? So that's really kind of it's kind of like a pat on my back. Not that I'm, I just try to find the best, opportunistic. I like to be a competitive advantage and, blowing the horn of protection of your investments and trying to lose less when markets go down. We can't take complete uncertainty, can't take all the risk out of it, because if you did do that, you'd never have gain. But we can minimize risk. And so that's really important. And it's not just putting your money into an annuity, where a lot of advisors promote annuities, which are high commission oriented. I mean, I'm not anti-annuity, but I'm really all about trying to keep fees and giving clients liquidity and freedom of their money. So I'm not opposed to annuities, but I'm also, what I like is predictable income, and I also like to know that your money's hedged or protected as much as it can possibly be. So we focus on trying to help people understand all the options, and then they can pick from that or work with their own advisor to kind of select what they would approve. This money naturally, they're the creditor of the trust, so they're really like the bank. You can't just go down and ask the bank for a loan and say, just give me the money and they'll let you know what we're investing in later. That doesn't work like that. The bank wants a full-on loan application. Do you qualify? What are you investing in? We're going to do the underwriting. Are we buying too? Is this the right price? Are we paying too much for it? Is this a good price? All of that needs to be in kind of the same context with us, is that you're really the bank, and anything that's being done in the capacity of the Deferred Sales Trust is we're protecting, we're really doing everything so that you as the banker will make the decision that this is exactly what I want, and this is what I will get, and the outcome is, again, this is close to being as predictable as can, but no guarantees, but again, the stuff that we can show you is pretty amazing. Again, a lot of advisors are clamoring to what we're doing right now.
Excellent, Bob. Thanks for sharing that. We're going to finish with the lightning round, and then we're going to do the last question. Are you ready for the lightning round?
Absolutely.
All right. Maybe a favorite book you've read in the past couple of years, or maybe it could be one of your all-time favorites. Maybe the one that most influenced you in your growth as an entrepreneur, as a leader, as a financial advisor, or as a wealth advisor.
Well, I think the one that comes to light it's an old book way back. It was called The Dove, and it was a pretty interesting. I'm a boater, so I like to be on boats and stuff. But it was a young kid that sailed across the world by himself. So that really inspired me at an early age when I read it. It was pretty amazing, and just kind of said, you go anywhere in the world and you have to depend on yourself, and you really got to navigate. I kind of felt like that was a good reflection of my life. I've always had to navigate on my own. You have to answer to yourself, and you're out in the open water, and you have to make decisions that are your life. And so that book really kind of came to light of what he did. So it was amazing. So I think that kind of set the tone of my life early on, and I think that's one that has always come up in my mind as always remembering it.
I can't help but think of the correlation between that and being a center in football, and kind of going out on your own and having to kind of create something for other folks and then explore into like new territory. So not surprised that that's the book. I'd love to read that book too. Second question, maybe a favorite, podcast or some kind of inspirational, leader that you actually, learn from and such for yourself.
Oh boy. I watch so many, and I just, there's politicians that I watch and interesting what's going on there, and I don't want to really get into politics because I'm just kind of open and neutral about it. I like to hope that the country's doing well for either the Republicans or the Democrats. I want the winning proposition, but I'd like to see that, but unfortunately it's just never perfect in that. I think, people that I look up to, I think Bill Gates happens to be one that I really even though not just because he's one of the wealthiest men or has been the wealthiest men in the world. He's an amazing man. I'm just intrigued by him because he just is such a good person. And he does a lot of giving back, him and his wife. And, there's a guy that could have anything he wants, but he's focused on helping and curing world disease. Amazing what he's done to be able to change things in different countries like Africa. But he's also very driven, like he'll just get in his boat and go off and to a little private little house and sit there and think about all the things he needs to do. And he never stops, comes in on time at work. He's a multi-billionaire. There's a guy that's just incredible. Same like with the Warren Buffett. I mean, there's a guy that they're giving all their wealth away. Just amazing. Even Michael Douglas.
Truly inspirational.
Yeah.
The one who?
Michael Douglas's dad. Kirk Douglas. I met him years ago, and just gave everything away to charity. Which just such a great person, and he did so well in the movie business. But there's you don't see that too often. Most of them. Oprah does a lot of giving back too. So again, I just like seeing that. I just really like seeing that. And my goal is to do the same thing. I mean, my wife is very driven towards charities and trying to give back. And that's what it's all about. It is all about giving back to people and helping people. The more we can do, my wife's a good friend is involved in helping children in orphanages in Haiti. So that's really a new thing. We're trying to help them get dental and help them get involved in different things that have happened over there, and just so many things. But the world needs help, and so we all need to play our role and do things. And again, every senior citizen that has a need to live on more money, that's what we do. So we're trying to help people live on more money, and then obviously giving back to people that need our help is our goal.
Excellent. All right. Here's one of the tough questions. Is it the Utah Utes or the San Francisco 49ers?
I'm going to tell you that I'm a Utah Ute all the way. The NFL is a business. I'm all about team sports. And, when I learned about going into the NFL, you could see that it was a business. I don't want to say things bad about the NFL, but it is a business. And the moment you don't perform or you get hurt, you're just another number, and they go to the computer and ultimately bring up somebody new, and they're in the next day and ready in pads and ready to play. So it's a business, it's a show, it's like you're a gladiator. And I think it's really hard on the players, and this is all they have. So I think I wish there was more for these players. Some of them, if they don't, it's interesting because I've watched a lot of the football players that had $100 million lose it all. Example, look at Mike Tyson and all the things he did wrong and made so many mistakes of losing all his money. So many people have that entourage and don't know how to manage money, or have bad sports agents and things. So a lot of stuff that I could see out there that, but what I love about Utah is it's a great school, positive energy. Their kids are there, they're going to school. I mean, now there are some new things with the NCAA being able to pay players. I wish I had been back in that time to make some money after college. But again, it's changing, and but I love college football. I just absolutely love college football over anything with the NFL. I don't even watch the NFL that much anymore.
It's the best.
I watch college football, and Utah's doing really well. They won the Pac-12 South, and unfortunately we didn't beat Oregon, but Oregon was a great team, and they represented the Pac-12 really well, and very proud of them, and just great for the whole Pac-12 network.
It really is. It really is. Last question, Bob, and we'll let you go. And this is probably my favorite question, and probably our listeners' favorite question. And it's centered around you and how you stay centered in your values, and how you stay encouraged to grow the business and reach for new goals. So the question is, how do you, Bob, stay centered in your values, and how do you keep encouraged to charge to new heights or new goals or new accomplishments?
Well, I'm driven. I mean, I think it's genetics. I'm just driven that way. I've always been trying to be an overachiever, and it's like sports, I guess I don't see the end of the season here. I just keep playing, and there's no end of the season. Now, I do take a rest every once in a while because my wife makes sure of that. So, but I love what I do. I'm passionate about it, and every year I look forward to a new thing. I mean, again, we're always faced with challenges. I mean, this world is, if it's not what we're going through now with this whole coronavirus, there was a lot of stuff that we went through with 2008, with a lot of the recession and potentially depression, and the stuff that went on. So I've been in long enough. I've been through the '87 crash. I saw a lot of stuff, and back in '87 when the Dow was 3,000, I was like, oh my gosh, 3,000, it's amazing. And now we hit 29,000, and now we've backed off from there. But again, markets continue to go higher, and again, people just keep driving. But yeah, for me, I love what I do. I'm passionate about it. I think as time goes on, I'm getting to that age now that I'm 56 years old. I'm kind of settling into, I've done it, I've made it, I've been successful at it. I want to focus now on taking this company to a whole nother level, which we've gone to an amazing story of success, but yet I'm not done yet. I want this to be, I mean, we are a national company, but I want people to recognize it everywhere, in every firm, and every and we are now getting to that point where the big firms, the largest brokerage firms in the country, are now allowing their advisors to work with us, which is just a pat on the back of, and then at some point in time, I'll have to just say, look, I need to turn it over to the younger guys, to gals, to run this company, because I've done what I needed to do, and it's now up to the next generation to do it. I'm trying to get my son to do it, but my daughter's a lawyer, and she works for the Pacific Legal Foundation. She went off to Georgetown Law and was really successful there, and now she's suing the government to make sure they stay and and protect the consumer. So I love that about her, doing constitutional law, nonprofit, love it. But I just want my kids to go down the best direction, and my son, maybe he'll come in and want to take over the reins, but we'll see. I'm just happy about being this. I'm blessed that we're helping people, and it's all good.
Well, I want to thank you, Bob, and first of all, I want to thank you personally too for all that you've instilled into me, encouraged me, challenged me. I met Bob now it's about 12 years ago now or so at Marcus and Millichap, and I was still new to the business, and we were trying to navigate the 2008 crash, and Bob came in and spoke about the Deferred Sales Trust, and that moment in time is kind of sealed for forever changing the trajectory of my career, and now has led to Capital Gains Tax Solutions, and really all in with Bob and what he's doing and how he serves people, how he helps people, and how he's paved the way to open up this whole new frontier to help a lot of people with capital gains taxes and really escape feeling trapped by capital gains taxes. So as a reminder, you can learn more about Bob, myept.com. If you're a professional out there who's looking to join us and to be able to offer this value add tool to your realtor, your commercial real estate broker, your financial advisor, business broker, reach out to us. We would love the opportunity to share more and more about how we can partner with you and how you can partner with us. And or if you're just a listener who's looking to sell something, now is a great time to get a plan in place and be proactive with all of the knowledge that Bob has just shared with you and with me. So Bob, thank you so much for being on the show. It's a pleasure and really an honor to be able to work with you on a day-to-day basis. And with that, I want to thank our listeners for listening to another episode of Capital Gains Tax Solutions Podcast. As always, we believe having a plan, a tax deferral plan that's proven, such as the Deferred Sales Trust, is the best way for you to create and preserve more wealth. And we look forward to having you listen to the next show. Hey, share this with someone who needs help with capital gains tax deferral or who needs help with growing their business. We look forward to connecting with you all soon. Thank you so much. Wow, what a show. Here are a few notes and a few thoughts on Robert Binkele and what he just shared with us. Really an honor to know him, work with him, and can't can't recommend him enough to be not only a financial advisor, but also a team player, a servant leader, just a really, really amazing man, and full of character, really fun to work with. And just, I've had such an honor to get to know him. And he's been my mentor, my teacher, my business partner, all of the above for years. And now we finally get to have him on the show, and I can get to share a little bit with all of the listeners here about Bob. So Robert Binkele, known as Bob. And so a couple things. The neat story of the journey, right? His journey of being in sports to paving a new way in a place that's very difficult to pave, right? I mean, it's in the analogy of him being the center and kind of facing it the first, taking the first blow or running the offense and helping to bring everyone together, coupled with his favorite book of the Dove and being sailing and new oceans and new places and kind of navigating and having to navigate on his own and kind of go out there into a new territory. But the cool part about it, it's not just he's not doing it for himself, he's doing it for everybody else, and he's bringing everybody else in, and he's encouraging, he's kind, and he's also very competitive. And he all of those things coupled make him just a wonderful person to work with. So I want to thank Bob again for being on the show. I want to thank you for listening to another show. I encourage you to share this, to rewind and listen to it again to catch any nuances there that you may have missed. And again, as always, reach out to us at capitalgainstaxsolutions.com. We can set up a one-on-one consultation call with me and Bob, and to get to dive into your deal and find out how we can help you create a tax-deferred wealth plan, and get you out of debt, defer the tax on the sale of your business, real estate, whatever it might be, and connect with us. We really want to get to know you. So reach out to us again, capitalgainstaxsolutions.com. Schedule that free consultation call, and we'll go from there. Thank you so much.
You have just listened to another information-packed episode of Capital Gains Tax Solutions with Brett Swarts. We hope you enjoyed today's show and found it helpful. Visit capitalgainstaxsolutions.com to access the show notes and to access more resources. Don't forget to leave a review and join us again next time.